And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the movie edition of the SJP Files. I am your host, SJP, back with part 5 of Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is titled All the King's Horses. This is the wonderful part of our movie when the Justice League bring back their, I wouldn't say leader, but when they bring back the Kryptonian, Kal-El, aka Superman. Now, at the back end of part 4, I kind of crossed over into part 5 when I was talking about the grave robbing scene when they robbed the grave of one Kal-El. Clark Jonathan Kent, I believe his full name is. Is it Jonathan? His middle name Jonathan? I'm pretty sure it's Jonathan, but whatever, who cares? We're going to skip this scene to get to the... I already talked about it in part 4. I'm sorry I went over a little bit. I'm usually pretty spot on in this, but this is what happened. Anyway, we have the Justice League essentially grave robbing Superman and breaking in to the Superman ship holding area covered by military guards all over the place. They break in. Cyborg causes a hazmat leak so that everyone can be drawn out of the building, so that when they come in, you see that they're ready to bring back the Superman. Cyborg walking in with the Justice League. Cyborg, and you see that scene from the trailer where they all walking in when the doors slide open and they're all walking in. And Silas realizes that this is a false lockdown, and he's about to call all the officers to come back in and say it's false alarm until he sees his son. And you get the kind of just the head bob. It's like head up. It's like, it's okay, we know what we're doing. You get them walking into the Kryptonian ship, and the ship essentially recognizes that Superman is here. Now, the suits for Superman suits, various suits created by the ship, are all starting to release themselves in preparation of his presence. You get that one open pod we got from Man of Steel, and all the suits, except we don't see the black suit. That's the one suit we don't see, which we'll see later on when Suit puts it on. But we see the red suit, we see the red and blue suit, we see like the Kryptonian armor, we see various other suits for this ship, and then you have the scene where they're all about to... They walk into like the amniotic chamber, and kind of Arthur is really the only one at that point. Arthur is really the only one voicing any real opposition at this point. And we cut to Lois we cut to Lois Lane kind of, sleeping, and she wakes up to realize that Clark Hayes once again still not beside her. And she opens up her drawer, and we see like a pregnancy test. Now, what we're assuming is that she's supposed to be pregnant at this point. Yay for Lois. Now, I don't actually think she's pregnant in this movie. I'm not sure, but I know the pregnancy test is supposed to be like an Easter egg for, for future movies. But I actually think she's pregnant, but she takes Martha's advice, aka John Jones. She takes his advice and starts to really get back into the world. And then we get like a tease for what Barry's going to do at the end of this movie, when Barry says, after Cyborg checks the ship, Cyborg realizes there's not enough power in the ship to wake open the mother box to revive Superman. Barry gives a suggestion where Barry has to go essentially near the speed of light to conduct enough energy to awake the box. Now, we cut from that scene to Lois back from the coffee shop, giving the cop his coffee. This is her daily routine. Cop thought she was going to miss it today. Obviously not, but we get the feeling that today is going to be the last day that she comes. She's gotten to the point of acceptance that he's gone, and this is like the last moment. It's time to get back to work. Barry explains why he does not like doing what he's about to do, because when he reaches the speed of light, weird things start happening with time, which is just a foreshadowing for what's going to happen at the end of the movie, when we have, to me, the best scene in this movie. And at this point, we are still only 2.5 hours in. We still have 90 minutes left in this movie. 90 minutes. And to be honest, while you're watching it, unless you stop, like I'm doing, stopping and stop and start, stop and start, stop and start, you don't notice how long this movie actually is when you're watching it continuously. But when you do know it, but when you do realize it's... Sorry about that. But when you do realize it matters. Now, the Kryptonian ship is warning Cyborg not to do this. The ship's AI is warning Cyborg this is a very, very bad idea. And then you kind of get like the nightmare sequence. You get like a nightmare sequence that you got from Man of Steel. And not Man of Steel, from Batman v Superman, where the unity happens and the mother box scorches the earth. You see Darkseid essentially coming to Earth. You get the funerals of Diana on Themyscira with the huge, Grecian funeral pyre. You get huge funeral pyres with Darkseid's ships all around them. Diana's dead. You get another scene where Darkseid, stabs Arthur with his own trident, which is kind of a wild scene, honestly. He's underwater. Arthur has the Atlantean crown, and he kills Arthur with his own trident, and then hits, I'm assuming that's Volko. I think that's Volko. Darkseid kills with the Omega Beam. And you get like not a still shot, but a scene where Darkseid is walking over to Superman, and Superman is holding some charred remains. I'm assuming those charred remains are Lois's charred remains, because Superman is crying. And then we cut from that scene after Darkseid puts his hand on his shoulder. We cut from that scene to a scene where Superman is back in his blue and red suit, holding Batman's cowl over the body of a dead Green Lantern. Looks like Kilowog from me. Cyborg says essentially no. Barry interprets it as yet and yes, and Barry speeds up to awaken the mother box. At this point, we get the first glimpse of what happens when Barry approaches or hits the speed of light. Time reverses. So when the mother box hits the water, it's very slow. And then as Barry gets closer and closer to the box lifts out of the water, like time is reversing, and that's the first glimpse of Barry reversing time in this movie. That's going to pay off in a big way at the end of the movie, in a scene that I absolutely adore. It's a scene I've seen since the movie came out. I've seen this scene probably 12 times. The scene where, at the end of the movie, where Barry, saves everyone's asses. But this is really the moment where you see the Barry, creating, giving the mother box a charge. Mother box, the whole thing blows up. Mother box is awake and lands on a car near Silas, and you look up in the air, and Lois kind of hears the explosion, and then she sees Superman in the air, kind of just floating there as she's walking away. So that's why she's there. I know people were like, oh, it's really convenient Lois is there. It's not convenient she's there. This is a daily routine for her. This is a place she is every single day. So her being there at this particular moment is not out of the realm of possibility. It's not. It just so happens that she happened to be there at this time, but she's there every single day. And I've been going there every single day for months. So let's be real. let's be honest. I know people are whining about it. It's not a big thing. It's an episode that, for no reason in and of it's I'm saying episode. Sorry. It's a scene that makes complete sense if you've actually been paying attention since the beginning of the movie. If you haven't been paying attention, then it's a scene that makes no sense to you. But if you have, it makes perfect sense. We get Superman landing at the monument, and then we get the Justice League arriving. Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Cyborg. Superman's still not quite right. Now, in the theatrical cut, in the theatrical Whedon cut, we get like the banter with the League, you know, Aquaman saying he's not right, and Barry screaming Pet Sematary. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I did like the Pet Sematary line. I was a big fan of the Pet Sematary line, and yeah, I was a big fan of the Pet Sematary line. So I was kind of hoping that line was Zack's line, but it wasn't. It was Joss's line. So it's one of the few things of that movie that I can actually stand, that I actually like. And then we get Superman scanning the members of the Justice League with his X-ray vision. And now this scene, I know some people have issues with when Cyborg's auto defense system wakes up and attacks Superman, views Superman as a threat and attacks him. Now I took it as Cyborg's components come from the mother box, and the mother box was afraid of Superman. So with Superman scanning him, I can understand his auto defense system viewing that as a threat and attacking. I know some people didn't like it. I didn't find it too out of the ordinary, given the backstory we've had about the relationship between the mother boxes and their view on the Superman. And now this scene is very much the same. This scene is pretty much, from here on out, it's pretty much the same. There's no plugged in dialogue. It's pretty much the same scene. Superman attacks him. They fight. You don't get the Pet Sematary line, obviously. This scene is essentially exactly the same. Arthur and Diana try to restrain Superman. And Barry, Barry tries to run around Superman, and you get that great scene when Barry's running around Superman, and Barry gets and as he's running around Superman turns and he sees Barry, and you get that look of like shock on Barry's face, because Barry very much realizes that, oh shit, I'm fucked. And he beats the ever-living shit. And he doesn't beat Barry Allen. He's about to kill Barry Allen. He looks like he's very much about to kill Barry when Barry's kind of dodging him. And this is the first time Barry's ever come across someone who is anywhere near as fast as he is. Now, in the comic books, Barry is faster than Superman. Superman's kind of like the jack of all trades, with the exception of like his heat vision and flying. He's like a jack of all trades because he can do pretty much everything every other hero can do. He's just stronger. He may not be as strong as they are in their particular element. Like in the water, Superman and Aquaman are, I would say, pretty equal, but we're not in the water. We're on land, so Superman's beating the ever-living shit out of these guys, and these guys are trying to keep Superman from killing Batman. And then Lois arrives and stops Superman from killing, and we don't get like that hammy scene of Lois coming out of like the limo. You just see her legs, and like some of the shit that Amy Adams had to put up with, doing some of these relines are fucking horrendous. Some of these rereads and new lines are horrendous dialogue. This is fine. This part of the scene is completely fine, and I love it. It just shows their connection. Superman glides down. He sees, the love of his life, and they hug, and he flies her out of there. Steppenwolf, sensing the mother box is awakened, drops in to find it. Silas takes the mother box inside the facility. Now, this is a scene that was completely cut out of the movie, and we went a new way with Silas. Silas survives to the end of Justice League, and him and Cyborg kind of reconciliate, and he's helping Cyborg construct basically the comic book version of his outer armor. instead of the version that we have, instead of kind of like the incomplete version we have in this movie. And if Zack Snyder's Justice League universe had begun to, that would probably be a scene we'd gotten in the Cyborg movie that we never got. So Silas takes the mother box into the facility, grabs to the particle accelerator. I'm assuming, I'm thinking it's like a particle accelerator or like a beam. I forgot what the hell this thing is. I forgot what that beam is, but Silas sees that Steppenwolf is breaking into the facility. So Silas initially was running out and then going to start the beam, but he sees Steppenwolf right there, so he closes the door and activates the beam. And then right as Steppenwolf's about to go after the beam, Cyborg comes in. He sees what his dad's about to do, and Silas turns on the laser. I'm thinking it's like the particle accelerator. That's what I keep thinking. I don't know why, but he activates the laser to essentially superheat the cube, but the laser bounces off the cube, and the laser bounces off all the surfaces of the cube and essentially disintegrates Silas in that moment. Steppenwolf hits Cyborg, who's got his back turned, who just watched his father die, into the wall with his axe, and then takes the mother box. He essentially just snatches up the box, and as the other members of the League arrive, Steppenwolf boom tubes away, and the end begins in the words of one Steppenwolf. And then we get, after Silas' Stone's sacrifice, is pretty much the end of Part 5. Now, Part 5 is actually, in my opinion, relatively short. We get Cyborg, mourning his father, mourning the fact that his father was dead, angry at himself because he couldn't save him. He's crying. Real emotional scene for Cyborg. Once again, Arthur screams out, his father's dead because of us. Diana's right. They needed Superman. Arthur's the one who really, cops it. Arthur's the one who cops it. That Superman was pissed at all of them, and not entirely himself. In this scene, he's himself. He's not. He's kind of getting to himself. And Steppenwolf goes back with the bases, and then it's Cyborg who realizes that what Silas Stone was actually doing wasn't trying to destroy the box. He was trying to mark it. He was superheating the box so that they could find it. Which, coincidentally, despite the fact that Batman has 6 satellites, once again showing the opulence of his wealth, showing 6 satellites, how do you not notice this giant red force field in the middle of Russia? I mean, come on, man. What are your satellites doing? You might need to reposition the satellites, but how do you not notice this? How does no one in any government around the world not notice this fucking gigantic thing in the middle of Russian territory? And then Cyborg says, "We track it down. Let's go get this son of a bitch." And like I said, I don't understand. I believe I've said this before in earlier parts. I do not understand how you cut Cyborg's entire storyline from this movie and think it works. I don't understand that. I know you were looking to cut this movie down to 2.5 hours, but still, how do you cut his entire storyline and think this movie doesn't work? It doesn't. This movie, and we saw a movie without his storyline, it's horrendous. The theatrical cut of Justice League is one of the worst comic book movies I think I've ever seen in my life. It has very little to any redeeming qualities whatsoever. It's bad from start to finish. Maybe some of the musical choices are better in the theatrical cut, because as much as I love Zack Snyder, I love his visuals, I love his storytelling, Zack's musical choices can sometimes get a little kind of preachy. I wouldn't say, preachy is not the wrong word. Zack Snyder's musical choices can be a little, too, I don't know what word I'm looking for. It's not preachy, it's kind of like the musical choices from like Aquaman walking down the pier, it seems a little gauche, if that's the word I'm looking for. It seems a little It's like it doesn't carry the emotion that I would prefer that scene have, but it's not my movie. And even if I don't love all the musical choices that Zack Snyder makes, his visuals, his action, I mean, the directing in this movie is something special. And I said this, I believe, in part 1. There's about, like I said, there's about 30 to 45 minutes of this movie you could legit cut. You could legitimately cut about 30 to 45 minutes of this movie. You could turn this into a 3-hour movie. You could turn this into a lean 3:15. A very lean, about 3:15 movie. Very, very much. And like the last, you could legit cut about 45 minutes off this movie. Real talk. You could cut about 45 minutes off this movie, and it would be great. And most of that cut would be the epilogue and all of that. And you could cut some time off a few short scenes throughout the movie. But you could definitely turn this into a lean 3:15 theatrical movie. So I don't know why they just didn't do that. But WB was great on, interfering. They interfered in... They saw the returns of Man of Steel, and then they interfered in Batman v Superman. The director's cut of Batman v Superman, like the extra 20 minutes you put in that movie, just makes the whole thing flow better. It just does. And I think the more time you give Zack Snyder on a project, the better he does. The longer the movie is, I think the better it is for Zack Snyder. I think he's a guy who does great with 2.5, 3-hour movies. I think if it's a 2-hour movie, it's going to be terrible. But that is it for part 5 of Zack Snyder's Justice League review. I am SJP, host of the SJP Files Sports Report and Movie Edition. This is the Movie Edition. Once again, thank you for listening. Round of applause to you. I'm loving the response I'm kind of getting from this show right now. Got a couple views. I'm into double-digit views. Even though, I just started this podcast this week. Thank you very much for those of you who are listening. And, hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You find me on YouTube too. Hit me up if you got any questions or any requests for movies you would like me to do after I'm done with Justice League. Thank you. See you.